Good evening, happy Friday. This is Chompsky. Hopefully the sound is recording this time. I'm going to double check before we proceed. We have the live video up. Good evening, Oh yeah, it's hot now. Sorry about that, guys. I just got notification on the chat in YouTube that the previous video didn't have sound. So let me repost this to everywhere. And I'm not really sure why. I had to unplug everything and plug it back in. Here we go. Post this onto X real quick here. All right. And I think we're live just about everywhere we can be. And so what we will do is we'll just try to run through this super fast because I actually just ran through it. But that's all right. We'll reset the indicators and we'll just walk through a few things and we'll show you how I like to do it. And hopefully there's enough to learn out of it. If you want to reset the indicator to the default setting, all you have to do is just hit the reset button under the templates. We'll get rid of the C zones. And we'll jump onto C-WAP, reset it as well. And that should give us the default settings for both the C-WAP as well as the FIBs. So I don't trade with FIBs on quite as much anymore because I used to trade it very manually. And I would always look for confluence or some way to try to kind of find support and resistance and then play off of it. So something like where this VWAP right here would be coming into that 62% zone. I call it the 62%. It's really a 61.8% fib, but I think it's silly, so I call it 62. So look for something like that to go short. And I'd look for a reason to go short. So maybe you want to take this C-WAP signal here short or something like that. I'd look for that. I might look for bounce also in this area if it's just bouncing off of that thing over and over. And you'll see areas where that does happen. And it kind of builds your confidence when it does. So that's kind of how I would originally do it. I'd look for something along those lines. Let's go ahead. And the reason I'm saying that is because inside of we'll reset this. Inside of Predator, you're going to be taking a different approach here. You're going to have to decide which way you want to go with this. Are you going to use the C-WAP signals for confluence, or are you going to use the Fibonacci signals? And which one's going to be your main entry? And so, depending on how things look and work, I'm going to take different signals. And so, the C-WAP, let's see, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the calculator on the C-WAP and see if we have a decent, wow. So we have a decent setting just out of the box. That's actually really good. I think I'm looking at 6 days worth of data. Yeah, so I'm looking at 6 days worth of data on the 852 ARC Renko BXT chart. And so, well, that's surprisingly good. That's a really good setting just out of the box. So yeah, I wouldn't hate having that setting. And so what I'd be doing is I'd ask myself, do I want to take there are two different signal types inside of the fibs, and to see that secondary signal type and understand it, first you'll have to turn the bias signals on. And here we go, okay, enable the bias tag. Red and green. Very simple bias tags. And just a real quick explanation of how the fibs actually work. So what you're going to get is these clear signals like that right there. And I'll put that in a box just so we know what we're looking at. That signal right there is a switch from a green fib to a red fib. And what's going on is this price action right here shot down so hard, it's oversold, that it triggered the fibs to flip to a bearish bias. And then you get a C-WAP signal that actually went and agreed with that. So what I would do is I'd look and see, do I want to use these as the main signal or the bias signal? And this signal right here also will be determined inside of the dash, and I have that open over here. And you can actually set this to trigger signals as well. I did a video recently on signals out of the dash, and you could basically make that your signal generator for this part of it if you wanted to. But this is interesting because you do get the strong push down, and the way that works is just like any other of my indicators that have that threshold setting from the ATR. And so you can come in here and set this right here to a different equation. It'll either make it harder for it to re-anchor, or it'll make it easier for it to re-anchor. And so go higher if you want to make it harder, and go lower if you want to make it a little more loose. And so the bands uses this, C-WAP uses this to re-anchor, and the formula works so well that I just kept it across the board, and so it hopefully became something people got used to. And if you want the ATR to be a little looser, you could drop it to 14 or something, and that might help you a little bit with getting more recent price action, make it a little less smooth. But in this situation, I like this, and I just want to use this as an example. So we're going to use this tag right here. This is a red for the bias, and then we're going to use the C-WAP as maybe our primary entry. So one way or the other, I'm going to say let's do that. And this is more for an automated approach or for semi-automated. But just so people know, this is how you go in here and do this. I do have an older version by a few versions of the Predator just because it's been working so well. I didn't want to mess it up. I am going to have to download the newest version here. It looks too cool not to. I've seen a few of these updates that Dre's doing on the Predator that, man, it just looks like it's coming along really nicely. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say my main entry, I want to do C buy with a capital C and a capital B, and then a C sell and the capital CS, lowercase ELL. That should do the trick right there. We'll double check it real quick. We'll just turn it on. The confirmation over here to the left should come up, and it did. We got 2 check marks up here on the Predator, so that's telling me we are good to go. And so the next step is I'm going to turn the filters on, and we're going to use that red-green approach. This will be a forced verification. This means the fibs have to agree with my C-WAPs. And so for a green, we want it to be green for the longs are green, so we want those on, and then for it to switch off, we want red. And the vice versa for the other one, so red, green. That's how I'm going to do this. Make sure the capital is on the first letter there, no space at the end. We're going to hit apply. See if this works. Okay, there we go. So we got it. We got it set up right there. That's how you would set up those signals. Now, if you're wanting to take these Fibonacci level signals, you can check the signal out here. C buy, CB, I think it's fib buy, sorry. No, that's C buy. That is not a fib signal. That is a C-WAP signal. Okay, my bad. This is a buy fib. Okay, so there's where you would set that up. You change it from C buy to buy fib or sell fib. Make sure you put capital, the first letter's capitalized, and then the fib has a capital F. No space at the end. That should give you that signal just fine. If you want to have that confirmation, you can do that within its own self. And then there's one more signal inside of the fibs if you want to mess around with it. And that is the signal for the measured moves. And that's going to be these tags right here. And just so you know, the buy tags and the bias tags, all the tags can be changed and customized from the menu. So if you just want to use your own tag name or whatever, maybe you want to make them the same. It's up to you. You can mix and match them if you like this changing the bias as well or whatever you want. You can do that. It's up to you. But the exit tags are a little bit different. So the exit tags, and I'm going to just delete this so I can redraw it. this right here is part of what that exit tag is going to have in it. And what happened here is you have a anchor up here at the top, the high, and then you had an anchor at the low down here. We'll just put that right in the same line as this right here. And that we'll consider that one leg down. It pulled up to here, and then it went down, and it pulled back up, and here is your second leg. So you should, theoretically, and I think I've drawn this just differently. I don't know how. Yeah, I think I did. So that's not, okay, so it re-anchored here. Yeah, I think I'm drawing it differently now. I don't know what I did. Well, phooey. Anyway, you should theoretically be able to get your exits on some of these measured moves. I'm surprised. I don't know why that's doing that. I'm seeing the anchor wrong. Because it re-anchored here, so that's probably where your anchor point would be. And then it's going to rebounce to here, about there. I think that's probably where it was, but no telling without pulling out the anchors and actually looking. But what you're going for in these is a measured move. It should kind of sort of tell you this is going to move X amount of ticks of that measured move. And when it hits it, if it does, you get these targets where you will get this exit tag triggered, and that will pop up with a little tiny X right there if you look into that golden line. And that little tiny X is where that exit would happen. So if you're a Fibonacci trader, maybe you're looking to take a position up in here, or when it hits a 50% retracement, and you might say, okay, I'm going to enter there at the 50 and maybe put a stop above the VWAP and the 62% Fibonacci trade. You probably could, in this situation, get close to a 3-to-1. And that's generally how people kind of sort of like to trade the fibs. There's more to it than that, but overall, let's see the ratio. We'll go 3. It's set to 2. We'll go to 3. Yeah, it's just almost a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio. It's pretty nice. I do think there's something about this. I don't know exactly what, but I'm surprised it did not. It may have been because it re-anchored down here and then started over. I'd have to dig into that. But that second leg did push all the way down here for the 100%. It almost made it to 100%. Made like 90% of that. So that's something to consider as well when you're trading these, depending on how you trade your Fibonacci's. I know everyone uses them differently. There are some people that use them for the fair value gap aspect as well. With the default settings in the C-FIbs, something you might consider. Here, we'll put this like that. Yeah, see that one's drawn. I don't know. Well, something you might consider though is to go into the settings and consider lowering the percentage of the second leg of the measure move for your target. And we'll put the win rate calculator here on as well. We'll drop this just to like 40% or maybe 35%, just something really low, and just see what kind of win rate we get out of that. So, all right, so now, yeah, wow, this actually hit this target on the first leg up. So you can see it pushed up, re-anchored, pulled back into the zone, and once it pulls into the zone, you should get that measure move drawn, that target, and it went up and hit it, and that's hitting those. It says a 56% win rate, so that's not bad. That's actually pretty darn good. Let's see what kind of, if you're aiming for a target like that, that's 14, 15 points. That's not bad. And so let's see what else we get here. There should be one right here. So let's say you bought at around the 50% line. Say you just dropped an order there. It's something I used to kind of do, and I put my stop back here or somewhere in the area here just to where it's protected. And that's a 43-point move there. So, I mean, there's some good strategic moves here, especially if you're getting a high win rate. Depending on where you put your stop, you could get a pretty decent 1-to-1 on some of these. Here's another one that goes to 50% line. So you bought there, sold there rather. Aim for that 26-point move. I mean, it's something I don't necessarily trade like this at all. I think there's a skill to it. You want to do it right and well, but in this case, this is interesting area because you get the VWAP and the 50% line there together. And if you kind of had an idea of where your win rate was for your measured moves, just in general, and you could change this down a little bit too. Let's make it 30. 30% of the move probably gets hit a lot more. So yeah, you're up to 63% win rate on a 30% move of the second leg. So let's go ahead and just see. Measure this one. I think the 100% move would be down here. So if you're using micros, you might be able to take a scalp off. I don't know where you'd put your stop on this guy. It looks to me like I would probably drop an order here, put it up here, and then aim for my first target here, and then look for a runner. That's probably something I would do, something like that, if I was trading it this way. Let's see what else we got. I think that's pretty other than that. Staying up there at the 63% rate. We'll move right just a lot more. And it looks like it's actually going up a little bit. No, it went down. Okay, it went to 55%. So it does have some losing streaks where it's moving around, but still holding well. It's just it's kind of one of those things where if you can find confluence, I think it does a little better. Just kind of depends on your trading style and what you're looking for. And so that's the basic gist of those targets. In the middle of each target is that little tiny, should be that X where it gives you the exit. I can't even see it on that one. It's hard to click it. But anyway, that should kind of help a little bit with figuring that out. Real quick before we wrap this up, let's talk about a couple features here on the fibs, because I haven't really done a video on the fibs. If you're using these on a higher level chart, there are a few options you probably want to deselect. One of them is I do like to put the reduced anchoring noise. I don't reduce it on higher level charts. I like that. What that is when it's re-anchoring like through here, I like to be able to see that. And I also I take off intraday mode because it's always going to try to reset every single day otherwise, and it's really going to throw off your Fibonacci's. It's not going to let it anchor. See, it's basically re-anchoring every day. So I don't like that mode for higher level charts at all. And if you turn that off, you'll get a better representation a lot of times of what's really going on with your Fibonacci. So as you can see here, we don't have nearly the re-anchoring that way. It does, whoa, sorry about that. It does seem to maintain just a little bit better on that part of it if you have it. So there's a couple things I like to see. We can touch on C-WAP. I do want to do a video just for C-WAP and really dig in deep to C-WAP as well, because there's a lot to C-WAP. It deserves a good, long, deep video. It's one of my favorite indicators. I think there's a lot to it. The way it works and the way it actually triggers that I don't know if everyone realizes. I put it inside the guides, but I think when you read the guides, sometimes it's easy to become kind of glazed over when you're reading that much information. So maybe a video would be better for some people. But overall, this should kind of give you an idea how to set up Predator. And if you don't know what Predator is, there is a link in the description. I do have an affiliate with them. I love them. I use them every single day. It's part of my trading strategy. Right now, I use the Predator to adopt signals, and then I take trades based off of what I've tuned for the week and where I think price is going to be acting or behaving. If I think it's going a certain direction or acting a certain way, I will try to take signals that make sense to that. And so each week I tune, and then I pick signals for the next day based off of news or based off of the current characteristics of the 4-hour and other charts, and then I let it run. I just let it do its own thing, and sometimes I do really well. Other times I get kicked in the face. It just is what it is. It's a fairly new approach for me. It's kind of part of my journey in becoming more automated. I do come back, and if I can, I'll check it once or twice throughout the day, just see where it's at, what it's doing. And I might switch signals, but most of the time I roll with what I got. If I'm confident, I do it, and I'm willing to take that risk. I use prop firms, so I'm not using my own capital when I'm doing this. It just is, I'm buying prop firm accounts. I think it's a little bit less risky to do that. If you want to do that, that's up to you. If you want to use your own capital, I highly recommend checking out the risk disclosure, because no matter who you are, what you do, trading is not easy, and there's a chance to lose money on it. You could lose more money than you actually put into it. So be sure to check out your risk disclosures. I have one on my website. There's one in the description here. Just have to do my due diligence there. If you guys are new, you don't know what this is, these are my indicators. I have about 7 or 8 indicators. You can try these for free on the website at chompsky.net. I do a 7-day free trial, and if you really are liking it and you really want to buy it, or maybe you're just on the fence, you need a couple more days or whatever, hit me up. I do extend trials a little bit for people if they need it. If you've tried it in the past and it's been more than 60 days, you want to try it again, hit me up. I'll reset your trial. We'll give you another week. I do change and add a lot to these. We've added a whole lot in the last couple of months. These calculators up here at the top, I don't have one yet for the fibs. I'm going to add it eventually. These do help a lot when you're tuning, because you immediately see just a generic, hey, this is what's working or isn't, and you kind of get a broad idea. It'll calculate over whatever you have on the chart as far as days go. It'll give you that points won versus points lost, and your risk to reward ratio, as well as the total trades. You got 30 wins, 19 losses, and your total win rate there. So on a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, a 61% win rate is definitely profitable in this past performance, but you got to also realize it's past performance. And so just so you guys know, I do tune on Sundays. I try to do it live. I do a stream just like this, and you guys can check those out if you want. I do them because I think it helps people realize that, hey, you can do this. You can jump in here. It's not hard. Once you do it a couple times, it kind of takes the fear out. A lot of these indicators are really, really similar in the way they tune. They got thresholds right here that are pretty dang similar. If you guys want to join me for that, feel free to jump on. Subscribe, like the video. It helps get out our channels and social media. I don't really have a big presence. Trying to build that a little bit with X and with YouTube. I'm thinking about starting a TikTok as well. I'm a little nervous to jump on TikTok. Never been on there, so we'll see how that goes. No, anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys. Hope this helped. If you guys have any questions, ask. I will try to make more videos or help you out in the chat if I can. Feel free to join us at the Discord. And